What's going on? Dr. Danny here with the PT Entrepreneur Podcast, and today we're talking about longevity again. This is something that I've brought up recently on the podcast. This is something that I've had conversations with recently about people in our PT Biz Mastermind, people that are friends of mine that have their own businesses in the PT profession around the country. And this is a trend that I don't think is going anywhere. I want to touch on again. I think it's important to keep this in mind. Today, I had a chance to have breakfast with a buddy of mine who is doing a lot of cool stuff in the longevity space, who's a clinician. He's a PT. And it was a really cool conversation. And I want to share some of the things that, that I'm seeing and that this conversation this morning reinforced about why I think this really is a place that you need to understand as a cash-based physical therapist. The global landscape is changing as far as healthcare is concerned. People are realizing that they're going to live longer and that they want to be more proactive than reactive, which generally, this is a great thing. This is something that, I think we would have been ecstatic for, to have patients that are like proactively wanting to do work. That sounds amazing. And that's what's happening right now. That's what's happening, and you're seeing this in a number of different ways. We see this with Peter Attia's group with 10 Squared, which is his gym in Austin. You're seeing that they're employing performance clinicians in the space that are doing basically assessments, program, hands-on stuff, things of that nature, over the course of months and years. And it's very expensive. It's thousands of dollars every single month. Another example would be Equinox. Equinox just released their longevity program. This is something to the effect of, $35,000 to $45,000 a year. That's a combination of assessments, blood panels, and work with trainers and massage therapists. And it's a sort of all-encompassing program. But you're talking about hey, $3-4 grand a month that people are paying. Now, obviously, this is very high end. I'm not saying that's necessarily what every clinic needs to do, but just as an example, these types of businesses don't get rolled out. Like Equinox is huge. They're not going to roll something like this out without a lot of market research. And even with us, we're already seeing things like this make a lot of sense within practices. People already doing a lot of things like this, where they're managing people's programming long term. They're really helping them understand what supplements make sense for them. They're helping them interpret blood panels. They're helping them basically be proactively healthy and check in with people before they have a problem or when it's minor, and not wait until it's so bad that they have to their wife makes them a visit because they're tired of them complaining about their knee. So we're trending this direction. And there's an interesting article that I read. UBS, they forecasted that by 2030 that the longevity market would be worth $8 trillion worldwide. That is a lot of money, a lot. And I definitely see this trend happening within the clinics that we're working with. It is one of the better things you can do, I think, from a lifetime value, continuity standpoint, because you get one client, and if they work with you for 5 years, or whatever, a very long period of time, you don't need that many new people, you just don't. Like the guy that I was talking to today, he needs 30 to 40 new patients a year. Okay. 30 to 40 new patients per year. That's it. In our clinic, we got 60 new patients last month. So, he needs 30 a year. That's it. What game do you want to play? And I think this is why when you really look at, where this makes sense from a number of reasons, yes, it does make sense because it's work that people are looking for. It's a great thing for their health. You can teach them a lot of habits that are going to be very transformational for their life. It's very rewarding. But on the business side, it's fantastic. It's fantastic because it puts your business in a place where it's very sticky. You don't need as many new people. You don't need to really focus on new volume as much. You can focus more on long-term relationships and delivering ongoing care to somebody that values it. That's a pretty great place to be. And it's something that people are not price sensitive to, especially if you are different than everybody else around you in terms of your ability to assess, to use technology. If you're doing things like force plate assessments and objectively measuring where how they perform in comparison to people their age and their peers, when you show them objective measures of what they're not that good at, what they need to improve, when you do things like VO2 max testing, when you do specific objective assessments as far as movement and performance are concerned, that people want to use as benchmarks to get better at. If you understand and learn how to evaluate at least basic blood panels and help people understand how to improve things like sleep and nutrition and stress management, these open up a massive amount of opportunity for you to have ongoing relationships with people and really, really help them, achieve these long-term goals. So when you look at what these bigger businesses are doing, the trends that we're seeing, these bigger reports that are stating that, it's going to be trillions of dollars of increase towards longevity training, that is a pretty great place to be as a clinic. And, when I think about where I can provide value to our clients in particular, a lot of it is, well, what are these trends that we see happening early? How do we establish an opportunity to help them integrate within their own clinics and to really try to stay ahead of the general field as far as that goes. And this is something that I stomp my foot on this stuff when I talk about it, because I honestly think that this is something that is going to be a part of every successful cash-based clinic, over the next few years. They're going to have some element of longevity, whether they frame it that way or not, of ongoing work that's going to be a bit more structured, where they're going to be doing tests and retests, which I hope they do, because it is a much more professionalized way of going about it than just subjectively, how you feeling today? Let's actually see where you're at. Let's see what your goals are and help you achieve those. And that is a really great place for the profession to head as well, especially as we look at the difference between cash-based clinics and insurance-based clinics. The massive advantage to cash-based clinics is we can do whatever we want within legal reason with our Practice Act, right? And what we're allowed to do. And everybody's state is different, but we don't have insurance telling us what we can and can't do. Now, if I want to have a 1-hour conversation with somebody about sleep because they're really struggling there and we're trying to educate them on the importance of it and basic sleep hygiene or whatever, we can do that, and they're still going to pay me whatever the fee is for that that I set within my own rates. If it's insurance, they may say that's not very valuable. They may not want to reimburse you for that, or they may view that as, education that's not as valuable as, I don't know, neuro re-education or whatever you're going to code it as. So we don't have to worry about that. The other thing is we look different. We don't look like a, hospital clinic. We don't look like a big corporate owned high volume clinic. They walk into those places and they do not look like places that are breeding longevity. They walk into a clinic like what we own, and all of a sudden they're confused whether this is a gym or whether this is a clinic. And when people are doing testing and people are actively picking heavy things up, or they're going through cardiovascular assessments or run form assessments or whatever it might be, it looks very, very different. And that's important because that's also how you're going to get other people coming your way. A big portion of it's going to be them telling their friends and family about why they might want to do this as well, and really helping them and their friends stay as healthy as possible. So this is something that I think we are uniquely positioned for. I'm excited for this, which is something that we're definitely going to be spending more time working on. How do we, better standardize some of this, different pieces of technology that we can use with this as well, different tools that are going to be tech enabled, I think are really going to set people apart and allow them to get really great results, but also definitively show the changes that they're making, which is great from a buy-in standpoint and compliance and motivation. And this is something I want to put on everybody's radar because I think it's worth paying attention to. And, you can wait until it's a little more mainstream, which is fair. You can start looking into this stuff yourself and really, decide, hey, is this something that fits the type of model that I have, right? Like if you're doing, I don't know, like very niche specific work that's just like manual therapy driven. And that's, maybe this is not a good fit for you. Maybe that's the niche you should focus on, but try to be part of an ecosystem of people that are doing things like this. Maybe you want to work with a medical group that's doing a lot of functional medicine, but you're a fantastic manual therapist and they want to work with you as far as their ecosystem goes to help their client move better and feel better as they're working on other things. There's a lot of ways that this can work, but just something to keep an eye out for. See where you fit, see what makes sense for you. But this is definitely a trend that's not going anywhere. And I think it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger as people realize that they're going to be living longer and that health is the real wealth. Like if you're not healthy, it doesn't matter how much money you have. And I think cash-based PTs are uniquely positioned to really, really capitalize on this fantastic trend that I see occurring right now.